Way of the Water, which comes out December 10th. Is it 10th or 20th?
Yeah, this 10th for England, 18th for us. So Christmas.
Really? England's getting it before us? Oh,
Yep.
I might have to get a plane ticket. James Cameron, he's been doing the rounds talking about Avatar and doing interviews and showing stuff and talking about stuff as we build up to the movie that's coming out, and of course the new movie that's coming out, and his older movie that just re-released, all prettied up. And he has come out and said that people that have watched Avatar at home, you haven't really seen Avatar. You've watched it, but you haven't seen Avatar. And he's more or less, I mean, he goes into a lot of different reasons behind what this comment means, but pretty much he's saying that Avatar is the quintessential theater experience. You need to go to a theater, a big ass screen, and see this movie and see it in its full 3D glory and all of that. And I just wanted to real quick get your thoughts on those comments, because we've heard a lot of directors and creators and filmmakers out there talk about how theater experience is the real way to see their movie and blah blah blah. And I do think that there are some movies that I prefer to see in theaters, but typically I don't know if I go as far as to say, well, if you haven't seen it in theaters, you haven't really seen it. I may be saying something like Dune. I'm like, man, you should totally see that in theaters. But if you've seen it at home, yeah, you've seen the movie. You can appreciate its majesty. But as far as Avatar goes, first Avatar, of course, what is your, now that you've, cause did you see it? You saw it back in 2009, right?
Oh yeah, I saw it 3 or 4 times actually.
Me too. Well,
yeah.
what are your thoughts on his comments? Do you think this is just more hyperbole that filmmakers go around talking, or is there any validity truly to this? Or what do you say?
Like Christopher Nolan, James Cameron has this way about shooting his films that watching it in IMAX, watching it in the biggest screen possible is the way to watch it, because you miss things. James Cameron is so good at putting things in the background of his movies that you will miss if you watch it on the small screen. Somebody I know, like I said, that texted me said they never seen Avatar in the theater or seen Avatar period, which I thought was weird. But the thing about it is funny. The Avatar 2 clip that premiered at the theater is going to be on YouTube at some point. It's just the unfortunate nature of it. And I'm just here to say, watching that clip in IMAX and just watching Avatar in IMAX, there's something wholly unique and original about it, or not original, but wholly unique about it. I mean, it's like when I went to see Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol and they had the Dark Knight clip, the 6-minute opening. There is just something awe-inspiring about watching it. And that's what, even though I don't think Avatar is the greatest movie ever when it comes to this dialogue and scripting and stuff like that, the world that is being presented and just how immersive it feels, and the way the one thing that TVs don't really replicate very well is 3D, even though they had 3D TVs out. For instance, you'll be watching this movie like I did yesterday, and you get the depth. You get the computer screens have depth, the background has depth, and then you'll have if you remember the part where the tree falls down and it's just ash and stuff like that. The ash looks like it's actually right in front of you, and then the characters are in ahead of you. So there's just an immersive experience about it. It's the same thing watching IMAX period. You watch a full 6-story screen IMAX, it's revelatory. It's something that you can't watch at home. Yes, homes have 120-inch screens, but they don't have 6-story screens unless you're Bill Gates or something like that. And when he says that, he's telling you the truth. He's making this film for the theatrical experience. So when Avatar left in 2009, it was sad, or when Dark Knight or whatever these movies left when they left, it was sad because you don't get to experience that. And now it's back. It's so cool, and I recommend everyone go see it. So yeah,
I absolutely agree. Now, while I haven't seen this remake, or not remake, this update, I'm gonna see that.
Yeah, it looks good, by the way. It looks like there is some motion smoothing, which I wasn't a big fan of, but it's definitely, you can tell that it's been technically upgraded.
Well, I'm seeing it Tuesday. I wanted to see it yesterday, but I'm seeing it Tuesday. So times worked out. But I did see it. I saw it multiple times in 2009, and I can say I don't totally agree with that statement from a lot of filmmakers. Dune, that's one. Man, that was an experience in theaters. But I still, like I said, I still believe if you've seen it at home, you can still appreciate the majesty of it all. Avatar is one of those very rare films, the first one at least, that seeing it in a theater is almost a wholly different experience than seeing it at home. Now, I don't have it anymore. I had a large 3D TV. It was a nice 3D TV. It did the active shutter 3D. It did very good 3D. And when it finally came out, I got the 3D version of Avatar and watched it. It was really good. It was the best home 3D experience you could get. But man, it's even when I would sit up close to the TV and watch it, it was a great experience. It still was not the theater. The theater experience, while everything else doing 3D is treating as a gimmick and having like things pop out at the screen at you and all that, Avatar doesn't do that. There's stuff.
It
popping
does what 3D is in. Yeah, it does what 3D is intended for.
Makes it immersive. It's depth. It makes the world feel like it goes on and on. Like when he's running through the forest and stuff, and it just feels like not coming out at you, but like you're right there and in that forest, and it's going by you. And it's hard. It sounds like, yeah, that's not that big a deal until you experience it that way. In a theater is where it is. Now, the first time I saw it, I didn't see it in IMAX. I don't even know if IMAX was really a thing like it is now when I saw it originally. So I can't speak to that. It was just on a large, regular screen. But man, there was something. It is a totally different fucking experience seeing that movie. It is a movie that was made for this big ass screen with the good 3D and seeing it. I enjoy the movie even in 2D. I enjoy the film. I know people have loved their criticisms, and any movie has its criticisms, but I still enjoy the movie. But man, 3D, it transcends being a movie and becomes a fucking experience. Even if you hate that movie story, you want to talk the Fern Gully stuff and all that, no one can deny that is just the movie's visual experience is just a sight to behold. It is something you just can't get that full experience at home. So I do agree. This is one, take your ass out to theaters and see it. Let's get Avatar to 3 billion. So I'm really looking forward. I've seen this movie a bunch of times. So I'm really looking forward to seeing it again. 12, 13 years later now, 14, whatever, however many years later it is. On the big screen, on an even bigger screen. And I did want to say, it's been, because I just learned yesterday that, this is like an updated version. He like tweaked some of the effects and things like that, kind of like Peter Jackson did with his 4K restoration of Lord of the Rings. And what you need to do if you're going to have a VFX heavy movie and you're updating it to 4K and it wasn't already, because, that's when the seams start to show. What is this? The version they're showing in theaters is the theatrical version, or is it the extended?
It's the theatrical version. It's the one you remember seeing. I personally wish they would have added in, like, especially the stuff with Jake at the beginning.
Yes, that's the best.
But but it's not like, when you start actually watching the movie, you kind of forget about the special edition.
Sure, both versions were great. The theatrical version was really good, but that extended edition I thought was it just added more detail to a world you already know. I mean, if you don't like Avatar, you ain't gonna like the extended version, but it's not so transformative of that it changes the work, but it just adds more to it, and I thought it was really well done.
Well, no, the funny thing is, even if he kind of tweaked it a little bit, and there's an article about him like talking about this and stuff like that, and how impressed he was by the updates, the movie is still, it's in the category of Jurassic Park as one of the most like awe-inspiring movies even 13 years later. You look at the visual effects, and outside of like there's a part when Jake gets off the plane and there's like the grunt guys, the main grunt guys, and you could tell they're CG. They look like early CG, not really good. But I don't know how you feel about this. It still looks really good for a 2009 movie. But this was at the time Robert Zemeckis was working on his animated films. And all I'm thinking is, there's a movie in 2009 that even puts Pinocchio to shame. Pinocchio sucked, but it shows you how good James Cameron is at what he does. And that he was using Weta instead of ILM for the most part. And it just shows you that James Cameron just knows what the hell he's doing in the visual realm. And it's amazing. People
talk about effects a lot, and they're in everything now. I think this movie puts Marvel movies to shame. They're kind of some people say the benchmark for effects, but Marvel movies just have so many effects now that when you have a Marvel movie, because they're filmed on green screens practically now, when you have a Marvel movie that has a real background and people are running around in it, all of a sudden that's when people start critiquing the effects more, because it's like they see the contrast of here's real life with effects thrown in, here's green screen, everything's effects except for this one person sometimes. And that's when they really show their scene. Avatar, as old as it is, the old Avatar, I think its effects outperform a lot of those brand new effects we're getting from these movies that cost twice as much as this movie did back then. Avatar was expensive, but compared to movies nowadays, the cost of movies is inflated to a ridiculous amount. But
I mean, Avatar 2 and 3 are like almost $1 billion. So I mean, I think the original was like 200 million or something like that.
Yeah, I don't even think it was 200. It may have been, I don't know. But we've got movies nowadays that cost more than that, and they just don't look as good. And that blows me away. That just shows how fucking good this movie is. And he is such a meticulous director that he will not let it go out. It ain't going to print until it's perfect. I mean, you've seen we talked about it on Wednesday with him before. Special CGI effects with any of the things in his movies, he is very meticulous, and he's like, I want it this way, and we're going to do it that way. If you can't get it that way, you get your shit together, and then I'll be back. And people say, oh, he's such a dick, but he gets results. He got results with Avatar. Now
they spent $9 million on the re-release, upgraded it. So
I mean, that's $61 million less than they did with Zack Snyder's Justice League on its re-release. But anyway, also on the subject of Avatar, it has already come. Well, it's already out now here in the States, but as of this report here, it actually got released a bit early in some other territories. It is. I thought this was only coming out. Well, I hadn't really thought about it, but I thought it was mainly coming out here in the States. But no, it's coming out worldwide. The only place it's not re-releasing would be in China, because it just did that earlier this year. Also, I want to amend something. Last week I had said, or on Wednesday I had said, it earned $39 million. Its total run, I found another number. It was more like $60 million is what it earned. And I don't know how long it was out there. It wasn't a real long. It was a limited release as well, but it earned $60 million in China during the pandemic, just FYI. But it is releasing pretty much everywhere in the world, with the exception of China, because like I said, it already came out, and it released in a few small territories, at least a day early, maybe 2 days early, and it's doing impressive numbers already there. Now, when I say these numbers, you're going to be like, that's not really that much, especially when we're on the subject of what we talked about the other day with will this hit $3 billion, which it needs total $152 million from what it had prior to this report. So its re-releases earned $877,000 from its first screenings. So its first night, which I think it was Thursday night or Wednesday night, something like that. Excuse me. And those, and you hear that and you're like, well, it's more money than I got, but that's not really a ton based on what we're used to hearing movies make, you know? Well, the territories that they're talking about would be the Philippines, Belgium, Saudi Arabia, and I think Ireland. So these are all small markets, very small markets that aren't known for. I mean, you don't really hear about people how much money a movie made in Ireland and stuff like that very often. But these are very small markets that it released in, and in those small markets, it almost made $1 million in its first screenings, like its early screenings for that night. That's a lot. I mean, that's a lot for just those small markets. Now, I mean, if you threw America in here, then we'd be like, doesn't look good. But the numbers for the U.S. release, which is when all the other countries such as Mexico and everything else around, Brazil, Germany, Italy, yada yada yada, pretty much everywhere except China in the world, those we won't get until maybe later today, tomorrow, or definitely Monday. We'll know the weekend numbers. And I think that's going to be very telling as to how well this movie's going to do, and we'll have a much better idea as, will this movie hit that $3 billion mark? I feel like each show we're going to have is Avatar's road to $3 billion, if it's going to make it to that $3 billion mark. I don't know, man. I'm still, I know we talked about this the other day, but I'm really on the fence as to whether I think this movie's going to hit $3 billion or not. I think it could, but you gave some really compelling arguments as to why that'd be a hell of a feat to make $152 million with a re-release in, you know, in 2 weeks. But then you also, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. But what else? What competition does it have right now?
It doesn't have much. The only problem is it's not in like 3,000 screens. That's the only reason I give that thing. But
now is that 3,000 U.S. screens or is that 3,000 screens period?
U.S. screen. Like, I mean, it's not. I don't think it's gonna. The problem with this release is it's in IMAX for the most part. Yeah, it's in other theaters, but it's mostly IMAX screens. So there's probably maybe 1,000 screens. So I mean, I'm not saying it's not possible. Yeah, I'm not saying it's never possible because, you know, in the day and age of this world, you never know what the fuck's gonna happen.
IMAX does cost more too, typically. So
yes, it does. Yes, it really does. I meant to say also about it, because it was laser projected. The one I saw, it had at least the clip I saw was high frame rate. And I'm telling you what, you know, if high frame rate is done correct, like it was done in this clip, yeah, I'm all about it. You know, it's not like The Hobbit where it really feels like James Cameron knows of how to fucking use high frame rate, which is kind of nice. Like, you know, Ang Lee started to know how. James Cameron's like, you know what, Ang Lee, hold my beer. I'm going to show you how high frame rate works. So you could tell it was high frame rate, but it wasn't distracting like The Hobbit or.
Well, didn't he shoot the original movie in a higher frame rate because of all the VFX? But they then toned it down when they put it to print.
Because it allows him to like make the screen brighter and stuff like that. So like if you have the glasses with the darkening thing on it,
sure.
So
like they presented it in 24 frames or whatever. I think it is 24 frames. But he shot it in a higher frame rate, so now he's able to go back with that original print and say let's mess with this high frame rate thing, because I'd heard that parts of this they up the frame rate too.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
but that clip specifically, it was in high frame rate, so you could tell. Yeah, it was so realistic. Dude, you're gonna be blown away when you see it.
Cool. I'm excited. I'm going to see it on Tuesday, and I have not reviewed Avatar on my channel because it came out in 2009, and I was nowhere near doing a YouTube channel at that point. I may actually just review the movie. That's one of those movies I never reviewed. I might just go ahead and review the movie and just review this re-release, which is it's the regular movie. It's just, you know, a little bit prettier. It's been, you know, modernized a bit. So I might actually do an actual review of it. So we will see. But that's Avatar, ladies and gentlemen. Let us know in the comments below if you're looking forward to this re-release and if you're looking forward to Way of the Water, which comes out December 10th? Is it 10th or 20th?
Yeah, December 10th.
December 10th?
No, it's 10th for England, 18th for us. So Christmas.
Really? England's getting it before us? Oh,
yep.
I might have to get a plane ticket.
I'm blaming Fright for that one.
Yeah, it's his fault. It's coming out apparently the 10th in England, which now I'm really jealous of them. They get it 10 days before us, or 12 days. For every year it took to come out, we have to wait. But wait a day. Anyway, Avatar, it's coming out in December, so go check that out, or let us know if you're going to be checking it out, Avatar 2, and let us know if you plan on checking this one out. And do you think that Avatar A needs to be seen in theaters? Which, if you haven't seen it in theaters, let me just say, if you are one of the, because he is right, he said there's a lot of people that didn't even have a chance to see it because they were so young. If you didn't get a chance to see it in theaters, go see it. Even if you didn't care for the movie that much, it is a fucking experience. That 3D, there has not been 3D that was as good as Avatar's since. It came in and made 3D popular, and nothing has been able to replicate that.
I would say the only time I've ever been truly that impressed outside of Avatar was The Martian. Other than that, yeah.
And see, I didn't see The Martian in 3D. Alita Battle Angel, it was really good in 3D. But
that's James Cameron produced.
Yeah, he was involved in that heavily. He was actually originally supposed to direct it. But besides Alita, and Alita still, Avatar, I would say, is still pound for pound the better 3D experience. But I'll go out on a limb. I will say that Avatar is still the gold standard in how to do 3D. Man, because it's not a gimmick. It is there to serve the story and the experience, and it absolutely does. So, but check it out. Let us know if you plan on checking it out, if you're excited about it. Do you think Avatar is going to hit 3 billion subscribers? $3 billion? Will it be the first and probably only movie to do so? And do you think it is really, truly meant for the theater and only the theater?